We're already seeing some school closures and students or staff having to quarantine because of COVID-19 exposures. The Multnomah County Health Department is now working with local school districts to mitigate the spread of the virus and keep students in school.
Fox 12's BRIDGET CHAVEZ joins us now live from Southwest Portland. And BRIDGET, is there a threshold number of cases that would force a school to move to distance learning?
Yeah, Dr. Vines from the Multnomah County Health Department says there's not a specific metric or a number of cases that would need to be reached. And she says that they've really grappled with this. And she says in the case of Reynolds High having to move back to remote learning like we saw last week, that was an administrative decision, not a public health one.
Most students have been back to in-person learning for at least a week, but already we've seen some school closures and quarantines because of COVID-19 exposures.
Seeing cases within the school environment is not unexpected.
The Multnomah County Health Department says so far there have been about 100 COVID-19 exposures in schools, meaning that more than 1,000 people have potentially been exposed. But keep in mind, these numbers are constantly changing.
If somebody is potentially exposed, it means that they could have come into contact with the person who's sick. It doesn't mean they've definitely come into contact. It doesn't mean they will definitely become ill.
So what would cause a school to move back to remote learning? Dr. Jennifer Vines says they've struggled with this, and it's not tied to reaching a specific number of cases.
We want kids in school, and so we can talk about closing a school for public health reasons, but that's not going to keep kids from mixing. And if anything, they're better off in school for the learning and in a structured environment where people are reminding them to wear their masks and to stay apart.
In the case of Reynolds High School, Vine says they didn't have the staff to notify hundreds of families.
Almost a third of their high school of the need to quarantine. And so rather than dialing all those numbers, they closed school for 2 days and prepared for distance learning.
It also varies based on location. For classrooms, the health recommendations are different than if the exposure happens on a bus.
We know there's a shortage of bus drivers. And so the expectation for a bus driver to be able to safely drive a bus and see everything that's happening, whether every student has their mask on the whole time, if they've moved, how close they are to each other, is very, very challenging. And so that has led to some of the bus exclusions being larger because we don't have a seating chart in place, or somebody's not able to say that the mitigation measures were actually in place.
The Multnomah County Health Department also says that weekly COVID testing is available for students. They'll take the kids home, swab, bring them back to school. Those will be sent off to OHSU, and then parents will be notified via email, and there's also testing available at schools if a student becomes symptomatic there. Reporting live from Southwest Portland, BRIDGET CHAVEZ, Fox 12 Oregon.